Hello and welcome back to the Build Your Coaching Business Around the 9 to 5 podcast. So, today I'm going to be sharing with you how to master your message because your message infiltrates every aspect of your coaching business, especially if you are primarily selling online, as 90% of my clients are doing. And even if you're selling directly to people in real life and you're doing networking events or you're hosting events for yourself and you're meeting people in person, the way that you communicate what you do, who you help, what you're about, what your offer is, your own transformation, and show up as a life coach all happens in the way that you communicate, which is all found in your message. What I see with lots of coaches is that they spend a lot of time focusing on how to learn the platform, how to learn Reels, how to figure out Pinterest, how to do SEO, all of these different aspects of becoming basically an expert in all of these different platforms, when I have never focused on those things beyond the basics of needing to know how to post and how to physically get my message out to the masses. Beyond that, I have never put my energy and attention solely in the SEO or solely in the platform itself or learning the latest trends or making sure that I was abreast with all of the latest features on platforms that are constantly moving and constantly updating. And the reason why I have never put all of my attention and energy there, and in fact, it's been a very, very small, very small minority of the energy and attention that I have. And that when I do go there, I do it from the perspective of let's have some fun with this, or this is new, this is interesting, this is exciting, and I get to explore it from that perspective. But I'm never putting all of my eggs into the basket of, well, unless it becomes viral, or unless it's perfectly SEO, or unless it perfectly meets the criteria for what Instagram or TikTok or Facebook need. Because there is something that is so much bigger than anything that those platforms are looking for. And it is you, it is your energy, it is your being. You are so much bigger than the platform that you are using. And when you give all of your power to the platform and you obsess about how to leverage the platform to the max, then you're giving your power away. You're forgetting what people are really looking for, what people are really connecting to. So, yes, those things can support your delivery of the message. They can help amplify your delivery of the message. They may even help more people see it. So, it doesn't mean that those things aren't valuable because they have a place. But those things cannot replace you. They cannot replace you being in your magic and being in your mastery, owning your own potency, being willing to show up and share the way that you see things, the way that you see things, and only the way that you can deliver it. And in only to the people that are plugged in to you, who maybe don't have another source of support that you can offer. Because for most of my clients, they're not necessarily working with coaches. If they are working with coaches, that's just a small percentage of the breadth of people that they support. And so, if, like many of my clients, you're actually serving normal people, as in non coaches, even other entrepreneurs, doesn't necessarily mean that they're as plugged into the personal development space as we are. It doesn't mean that their entire feed is filled with other coaches like yours is. And I want to offer, if that's what you're experiencing, then that could be one of the reasons why you're not learning how to master your message, why you're not seeing the number of clients, the amount of revenue, and the breadth of impact that you could be making, because you are comparing yourself and you're too plugged into what everyone else is doing to focus on what you're doing. And what you're doing is what matters the most. It doesn't matter if you're thinking about your business 24/7. It doesn't matter if you want it really, really, really badly, and you know that this is where you're meant to be, and you know that this is who you're meant to be now, if you're not actually taking action and you're not putting the steps in place. for a lot of coaches that I'm seeing whose business is entirely online and they haven't posted in 3 days, or they haven't sold their offer in 3 days, let alone shown up, then yeah, you're not going to be making the money that you could be making. It is that simple. What I see is 4 different things. Maybe you can relate to one of these, and let me know. Drop me a DM if this relates to you, and be radically honest with yourself. What I see is lots of coaches in procrastination. This was me at the beginning. In fact, I have been all of these things at one stage or another. And the reason why I'm happy to share that so candidly is because I need you to know that I'm not a special snowflake. There is nothing about me that makes me extraordinary. I am as ordinary as the next coach. But I was able to recognize these things in myself, and I was ready and willing to do what it takes to step into action, to get out of my own way and become the way. And the way that you do that, first of all, is always with awareness. So procrastination was one thing that I used to do. I used to think so hard about my business that I didn't really even notice how much I wasn't actually showing up. I was spending so much time doom scrolling and looking online for inspiration and looking what other people were doing, that I'd end up in this cycle of like comparison and self-doubt and self-pity. And what would happen is that I'd either create something, but I'd create it out of frustration, desperation, and I just need to kind of almost like get it off me, like something yucky that I just had to like get out there to the world, and at least it was done. That ain't the kind of energy that your clients want to buy into or want to invest their money into. Or worse, I didn't show up at all. I'd get so overwhelmed, so in my head with the procrastination, that it became so heavy that I couldn't even take action. Maybe this is you. Linked so closely to that is the aspect of overthinking. I see this so much with my highly successful corporate clients who have come from very established backgrounds. Maybe they were lawyers, accountants, or just in senior roles where they held a lot of responsibility. And it was normal for them, because they know their job so well, and because they had such a high level of responsibility in their corporate careers, they would just automatically transmute that level of pressure into their business. And when they did that to themselves and they had that level of hypervigilance, it creates a cocktail of second guessing yourself, of taking 2 hours to create a post that should only be taking 20 minutes. Again, DM me if this is connecting, or put it in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, because this is what I'm seeing in a lot of my clients, even if you're out of the 9 to 5 already and you're not even in your job anymore. That hypervigilance is a survival mechanism. Wanting to be a step ahead, wanting to be able to anticipate what your colleague might say, what your boss might say. All of this coming from inner child wounds and inner child healing. But sometimes this has just been systemic conditioning from our corporate careers that have perpetuated over a long period of time. And when that continues to happen, and that hypervigilance is something that we haven't fully healed from, even if we've taken a long break from our corporate career and we've been able to have a career break, or we've been able to take a sabbatical, what I find to be true is that until we've actually done the inner healing work on that, we haven't necessarily stopped responding in that way. And when we respond in that way, it shows as taking 2 hours to create a post when it should only take 20 minutes. So if this is you, then we need to do some inner healing work on that. We need to dive a little bit deeper and be onto ourselves about how it's showing up. And we need to give ourselves the love and compassion that we absolutely deserve, do the hard work of doing the inner healing, but also we can put some really tactical steps in place to develop your skill in simply writing really good copy. And not just in writing copy, because this isn't about becoming a copywriter. This isn't necessary. I'm certainly nowhere near as established as a copywriter, but yet I still make money every month. Every month. And I know that you want that too in your business. So how is it that I'm able to do that when I'm not actually that skilled of a copywriter? It's because I have complete clarity in who I'm serving. I have complete clarity and confidence in my offer. And I know exactly how to communicate it in a way that comes from a very grounded, very self-assured, very convicted, and very courageous place where I am willing to be bigger than my fears. I'm willing to be bigger than my emotions so that I can show up for you, so that I can deliver a podcast like this for you. The other thing I see is playing small. This manifests as not being as bold or direct as you know that you could be. It manifests as not wanting to sell too often because you don't want to come across as salesy. It's showing up as being scared to say what you really want to say because you don't feel qualified enough or you don't believe that you have the credentials. And maybe there's a part of you that acknowledges that, yeah, you've been in the game for 5 minutes. Maybe you just certified. Maybe you're about to certify. And it feels very true to you that you don't have as much experience or as much to offer as a more experienced coach. But here's the thing. You had to start somewhere, just as that coach had to start somewhere. And your clients are not measuring you on the length of time in service. That's a very old school, patriarchal way of looking at somebody's value. Your value is so much more than how long you've been in the game. But if you keep limiting your message and if you keep playing small, then you will stay small. You cannot become successful. You cannot create the money. You cannot create the clients. You cannot create the impact. You're not going to replace your corporate salary if you keep hiding from yourself, if you keep denying your audience the medicine that wants to come alive in you. Because the longer that you keep it to yourself, like any medicine becomes poison. We start to doubt ourselves. We start to question if we're worthy of it. What time does when we don't lean in is that time amplifies what's already there, or it makes us forget. And when we forget, we move on. And that's when your 9 to 5 starts becoming more attractive than the possibility of everything that you know is available to you if you really committed and took your coaching business all the way. Really think about that for a second. The moment you start having thoughts that staying in your 9 to 5 might be an easier way out, then that's not a problem if that's what you really want, because it's true. There's a reason not everybody becomes a business owner. There's a reason not everybody pursues entrepreneurship. Going to market directly to create money and clients and to have an influence on this world and to make a change on this world requires a level of visibility. It requires a level of vulnerability. And all of that is an inner game. All of that is an inner game in developing our mental fortitude, in developing our self-trust, in developing our skill in entrepreneurship. At no point do I doubt for a second that you are an excellent coach. But I know for a fact, if you've never built a business before and you've never had to develop the skill of marketing and selling yourself, then of course this is all going to be alien to you. But it doesn't mean that you don't allow yourself to step into what you do know. It doesn't mean that you should hold back from being convicted and certain in the message that you do have, because you don't hold back in your coaching sessions. So why are you making it any different when you're online? Why are you making it any different when you're in front of people in real life? This is my invitation to you. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you willing to be seen? And are you willing to feel the discomfort that comes with that? Because the more that you are willing to lean into every emotion, every layer of discomfort, to hold yourself, to do the work that is required, whether that means investing in a coach, to have help to do the inner work, to see your own blind spots, then that's what it's going to take. And I know that you're here because you're willing to take that journey. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't willing. That's the beauty of it. I already have so much certainty and trust and faith in you because you got this far. You got this far because you know it's possible for you. But don't stop here. That is part of your hero's journey. This adversity that you're facing, this fear that you think is too big to overcome right now, isn't. Your smallness is trying to keep you safe. It is trying to keep you in what is known and what is comfortable. But what is known and what is comfortable isn't what you want anymore. Otherwise, you would have just stayed in your corporate career. You would have just stayed in your 9 to 5. You would never have pursued coaching. You would have never have pursued entrepreneurship. You would never have dared to believe that this is possible for you. And I know this to be true because I have been in your shoes. The fourth piece is, even if you overcome all of those beautiful things that I've just outlined, that procrastination, that smallness, that overthinking, then it's a case of, okay, well, I'm doing it. I've got the willing, I'm putting myself out there. I'm willing to feel all the things. And why isn't it still working? What is it going to take? And that, my friend, is when it gets really interesting, because that is when we need to start mastering and really putting some structure to what you are doing. Having some timeless business practices that transcend the basic rules of all business. It means actually marketing in a way that your audience is going to resonate with. It means communicating and articulating your offers in a way that your audience is going to desire, is going to recognize as something that is a solution to their problems. It is literally developing the skill of marketing and selling, which happens by doing. And it helps to know a thing or two about a thing or two. More specifically, knowing how to create value content, knowing how to educate in your marketing without overwhelming, without giving too much away. And it doesn't mean that you don't give everything away. This is one of the beautiful paradoxes of marketing, of selling abundantly from your power, from your empowerment, and connecting to someone else's empowerment, even when they're really deeply struggling and suffering. It's knowing how to speak powerfully to pain points. And it doesn't mean when you do that, if you do it in the right way, that you're keeping somebody in their struggle, or that you're adding salt to the wound in some way, but actually that you're empowering them and showing them that they can make a change, reminding them of who the fuck they are, reminding them that they too can have what you have achieved. It's also knowing how to showcase all of the beautiful work that you've already done, both in your life and for your clients, whether it's free or paid. It's knowing how to showcase a case study, knowing how to showcase a testimonial beyond just sharing a screenshot, knowing how to take the transformations that you are doing for yourself and for your clients and to turn that into powerful messaging. Because when you learn how to do that in such a potent way, what happens is that your clients come to you already sold on what you have to buy. So that when you're in the DMs or when you're on your consult calls, they're telling you why they want to work with you. They're telling you why your offer is the one. They're telling you what's involved in the program. And they're looking to you simply for that comfort to buy and that validation that they are in fact in the right place, and that clarification that everything they believe to be true, because you have shown it to them already in your messaging, is definitely the right step for them. That's such a different type of discussion to having people in the DMs saying, I need help, please help me. But are you really the coach for me? Can you really make this happen? Do I really want to give you my money? You don't want to be dealing with those kind of conversations. But the only way that you can make it that you have people come into your world who are saying to you, I want this transformation. I want the solution that you have to offer. I see you as an example of what is possible. I know that you can do this for me too. And I believe that your program is the one, means that we create a message that supports them in making that decision from the outset, that we're not waiting for all of that to happen in the DMs or on the sales call. This is, can you see, this is so much bigger than objection handling. This is so much bigger than knowing how to persuade or convince people to work with you. None of that is required when you learn how to deeply master your message. And every one of those experiences that I've just shared with you, those experiences where people have been in my consult and said to me, you're the coach for me, you're on my vision board. The first time I heard that, I think I like died and went to heaven. I literally was shook. I knew I'd felt that way about other coaches, but it never dawned on me that that's how people could feel about me. Makes me kind of emotional. Because, like me, being a coach means something. It is so much bigger than just a career change or a job. This is who you're meant to be. When you start to realize that you can be that person for other people, and you have that level of responsibility of what it is to take someone through the kind of transformations that we take our clients through. You don't take that lightly. Suddenly sharing motivational quotes doesn't quite cut the mustard. You know what I mean? The magic inside you, the things that you can do in your coaching sessions, even if you're brand new to this, even if you're like, oh, but it's just a script, like, is it really that special? Yeah, yes. Have you seen what you can do? Even if it's just a script, that's the level of reverence you need to have for yourself, for the work that you do, for the work that this can do for your people. And when you start to bring that into your message, when you start to truly celebrate what you're about, when you take a stand for what you believe in, when you start to advocate for the things that your audience cannot put words to themselves, that is when people start paying attention. So let me break it down, the things that you literally do in order to master your message. The first step is building your capacity. If you haven't posted, as I said earlier, if you haven't posted in like 48, 36 hours, and you haven't like unequivocally said to the world, this is my offer, this is how you can work with me, this is who I help, this is what I do, this is the transformation, then you're not selling. And if you haven't done that in the last 36 hours, and you know that you're not consistently doing that at least every 36 hours, if not daily, and if not multiple times a day, if you're on social media, then we need to build your capacity. We need to build your capacity for safety, to be visible, to be seen, to be exposed, to be out there, to be vulnerable, to be willing to be seen as selling. If that immediately created a physical response in your body, then yeah, 100% lean in. This is exactly how I help my clients. Work needs to be done in this area. If you cannot build your capacity in a way that creates safety within your own body, your nervous system will reject it. Any money, any clients, any impact that you start to make will not be sustainable if your capacity hasn't caught up with it. This is a non-negotiable. Otherwise, what happened in your corporate career? You burnt out, you become unfulfilled, you become desensitized, you don't know what you're doing it for, you wonder if this is it. It becomes another version of your 9-to-5. That is why the first point of call is building your capacity. The second is elevating the energy you sell from. This is not about, and I repeat, this is not about being high vibe. Think about the energy I've come to this session today. It's not just a webinar. It's not just a podcast to me. This isn't just a video. This is transformational coaching given to you ahead of time, because I am coming not from high vibration. I mean, actually, I rephrase that. I come from a high vibration, but not from the vibration that you think. I think you think it needs to come from excitement. I think you think it needs to come from motivation. But actually, it comes from so many other different things. Because if I were to rely on motivation alone, if I were to rely on excitement alone, it wouldn't resonate with you. Yes, motivation maybe gets me into my chair. Excitement feels nice for me. But do you want to come to a coaching session talking about how we're going to build your nervous system to hold the capacity to be able to post every day? And you want me to be sat there like an excited little bunny rabbit who can't contain herself? No. You want me in this energy, in how I'm showing up today, in an energy that cultivates trust and safety, that has authority, not from the perspective of me being more hierarchical than you or better than you because I see you as an equal, but from the perspective of, I know exactly what you're going through. I have been in your shoes and I know exactly how to help you. And this is how. That's what you're looking for when you go to the doctor, when you go to a therapist, when you go to your gyno. Maybe not your gyno. I mean, this is the thing. You don't necessarily need an expert who has been in your shoes. Certainly not the case with a doctor or a gyno, especially if you have a womb and you go to somebody who was born a man and doesn't have a womb, then of course they're not going to relate to you, but they can still be an expert to you. But in our field of one-to-one transformational coaching, part of the sell, part of what makes us the best coach for our clients is the very fact that we have been in their shoes and that we are delivering a transformation because we know exactly what they're going through. So in that sense, that's one of the few industries that makes coaching that little bit more nuanced. And even then, everybody's personal situations and circumstances present a little bit differently. Just as I have coached mothers, grandmothers, I have coached women in jobs that have no bearing on the kind of career that I had. Professional dancers, C-suite. I wasn't C-suite. I've never been a professional dancer. I've never worked in engineering. I've never worked in accountancy. But because I know who I am and what I bring to the table, I come with a level of certainty, of self-trust, of conviction, of belief in my own credentials and belief in my own experience. So that energy that you sell from is everything. It also comes from building the fundamentals in content creation. The fundamentals in content creation are literally this. Lean in, write this down. It is educational content. It's authority content. It's value-based content. And it is case studies showing examples of people that you have taken through your transformation, through your proprietary process. And I know you may think that you don't have one, but part of your messaging has to include what that process is, even if it's bespoke for every single client. And if you don't know how to communicate that, then stick around because I'll have an offer for you at the end of this podcast. But they are the 4 most fundamental pieces of content that you need to be sharing. Again, I hope you can see now, motivational quotes, we need to graduate from them. We need to start adding some structure and process to the message. It also requires you to be very specific about what your clients are experiencing. One of the big things that I see coaches doing day in, day out is sharing so much coachy language. You're talking about things like confidence, imposter syndrome, self-love, self-trust, attachment styles, all the things. Sometimes our own intelligence gets in our own way. Like we understand what's happening on a very psychological, neurological level, and we can level with our clients on that. It's important to show the science. It's valuable to show that there is a language for the things that they are going through and for the things that they want. But when it comes to getting your client's attention, and when it comes to positioning you as the person that can help them, coachy language is actually going to just make it very generic and make it feel very far away. It's not going to feel accessible, and it doesn't feel easy to understand. So we have to make it easy for them to understand, which means specificity in how we describe what our client wants, what our client's dealing with, what their client's going through, and how it's presenting for them. Just as I did at the beginning of this podcast. The other piece that doesn't get spoken about enough, that is a huge component of messaging mastery, is all of the magical, all of the poetic, all of the bits that make you you. One of my most fundamental, pillar quotes in my business that has literally been one of the cornerstones to my success has been my willingness to lean into the message as it wants to come through, which means sometimes I share poetry. Sometimes I share stories in a non-fiction storytelling in a fiction storytelling format. I even wrote a rap once. A rap. Oh my God, it was hilarious. To this day, I still cannot believe that I wrote a rap about the coaching industry. Your girl cannot rap. That is not what I'm about. But that's how the message wanted to come out. Now, if you've been following me for a hot second, I'm not necessarily sharing poems and beautiful sonnets and storytelling every day. But once in a blue moon, if something comes through me that wants to be shared in that format, then I share it. And here's the most mind-boggling thing for me, and I really want you to heed this. One of my clients a year ago came to me off the back of one of the stories that I wrote that was based off the theme of 50 Shades of Grey. She saw it and loved it. She saved it. I did a series of 3 of them. And I had a great time writing them. It felt so saucy. It felt so juicy. But I trusted the message as it wanted to come through. And off the back of that, I created a beautiful client who worked with me for a really long time, one-to-one, high-ticket client. That was the message that made her go, okay, I like what she says. I like what she's about. I like her story. I like her transformation. But it was that message that made her sit up and pay attention and say, I'm the coach for her. That blows my mind to this day. So this is an invitation to you. The magic that wants to come through you and all the different ways that you can share your message. And I think one of the most exciting ways that we can lean into this is when we start doing in-person events. The amount of ways that you can create experiences, that is so exciting, so expansive. The possibilities are endless. You can have seasons of your business. You can have themes. You can have experiences. You can create all sorts of experiential events. both online and offline, for your people to come in and experience. When you start thinking outside of the box, it can bring your message alive. It can bring you alive in ways that you never even imagined. And they are so fun to do as injections, as one-off events, as like periods in your business where you really feel like you want to just give it a fresh spice of life. There is so much that you can do. I won't go deep into that right now, so I don't want to overwhelm you, but what if you did let yourself think outside of the box? What if you trusted the message as it wants to come through? And then lastly, I want to talk about storytelling. The way that you invite your audience to have an experience with you, similar to what I was just saying, but in a more nuanced way. In every single message, if you can start to bring in the power of storytelling and bring in that potency into the way that you relay your message and share not just your story, but your client's story, and paint the picture for them of what it would be to go through your transformation. All of these elements that I've highlighted, when all of this beautiful stuff comes together, the potency of your message, the confidence that you cultivate, the way that you start to show up, not just online, not just in your content, but the way it filters through into your sales calls, the way it filters through into your DMs, the way you don't bat an eyelid when someone has a question about your coaching, or when it comes up at a barbecue or at Sunday roast, when you're catching up with friends or family, and they want to ask you about your business, when it's so clear to you what your message is, what you're about, who you stand for, what you advocate for, then all of those other things just start to drift away. You're not procrastinating as much. You're not overthinking as much. You're not playing small. You're stepping into your bigness and your greatness. It becomes an enjoyable journey. And it doesn't mean that you're just pulling random stuff out of the air, because you have structure to it, because you know that these things, when you repeat them, when you start to build consistency, when you start to build comfort and confidence in those things, they become a safe structure for you to expand. Because these things that I just outlined, they are going to be true for you, whether you're day one in your business, whether you're 50K in your business, whether it's 200K or 1 million. These things are timeless. Truly contemplate that for a second. It doesn't matter the strategy. It doesn't matter the platform. It doesn't matter what the trend is. It doesn't matter the format. When you have the fundamentals of mastering your message, it feeds into everything. And that is so exciting to me. So, all of that being said, I guess you're wondering how on earth you can go and put all this into practice. I have literally given you what you need to know. But obviously, I cannot support you unless you work with me, because that would be highly unfair on my paying clients. And the level of mastery that you deserve to reach, that I know you are capable of, that I know would be so much fun and so exciting for you to embrace and to lean into, I've created a most beautiful program for you to come into the container and to actually do this work with me. Every component that I have stepped through today and described to you today is a module inside Messaging Mastery. Over the course of 12 weeks, with each week having a new training on each of these modules, you're then going to have the opportunity to put it into action, to get my eyes on your content, to receive my feedback, and in a group box of support, so that you can embody and truly implement each of these components of Messaging Mastery. Whether or not you're coming to the table as brand new and you've barely posted at all, or you've been doing this for a hot minute and you're still not making the money and the clients that you know you're capable of and that you desire, you know you have something powerful to say. And now you need some mindset and energetics and strategy to get it out there and get it out to the world in a way that will make people sit up and pay attention. As you increase your capacity, as you get more visible, as you get more confident and comfortable being seen, then my program, Messaging Mastery, is the perfect place for you. We begin on the week commencing the 4th of March, 2024. If you are watching this live or in the lead up to that date, then I invite you to join me. I cannot promise that this program will be available on replay or that I will ever be running it again. I may be, but I haven't made that decision yet. So if you are watching this live and you are serious about getting your business off the ground, then Messaging Mastery is going to be the most magical, hands-on, embodiment-based container that I have ever made in a group setting, because I'm going to be giving you everything that is relevant that I know about mastering your message so that you can have the kind of experiences that I described earlier, so that you can have clients coming into those DMs and those consults already 99% a yes to working with you, describing to you what your offer is about, describing to you why you're the coach for them, telling you that you're on their vision board. You're being the coach of choice. It starts with you being willing to master your message. So if you want to join, the link is going to be in the show notes, or come find me right this second and drop me a DM. My final ask of you is, and I must admit, I didn't even realize this was a thing until very recently. So here I am, slightly late. But if you enjoyed this episode, or you've ever enjoyed any of my episodes, and this has been a valuable podcast for you, I would love for your review inside this platform. If you'd be willing to subscribe or leave a few stars or leave a review or a comment about what this episode has given you, what this podcast has given you, I would be so grateful. I'm going to sit down and read any that may already be there, but I will start asking for this and start remembering to ask for this, because when you share, if it's been helpful for you, just the 20 seconds it will take for you to do it, it maybe helps somebody else receive this message and receive this episode and give them the help that they need as well. That would mean the world. So thank you so much for joining me. That was a biggie. I know it's giving you a lot of food for thought, and oh, it's exciting. I know that you're going to come back to this episode and take it like one step at a time, break it down. But if you want to do this work with me, then make sure you come join Messaging Mastery. You'd be crazy not to if you know that anything in this podcast resonated with you today. So I'll leave it there for now, but go have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next episode.